Hello, guys and gals, me Mutahar, and welcome to a lovely little 4chan weird thread video. And this weird thread video comes at you down to a situation involving urban exploration. And now my thoughts on urban exploration is it's pretty cool, but if I walk into a place that gives me really freaky vibes, like if I'm gonna get stabbed or, like my throat's gonna get ripped out by some crazy dude in there, then I'm probably not gonna go. But that's what 4chan's for, absolutely. Yeah, you can witness other people doing absolutely stupid shit and just kind of partake in it. But today we're gonna look at that. We're gonna have a little bit of a chill time browsing, a little chill, darker hour, and call it a day, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go dive right in. Now, in terms of urban exploration, all right, the best thing is coming across photos like this. I mean, if you look at a creepy bunker or something of that sort, you should probably stay away from it. But then again, people like to rush right into it. So let's go through the story real quick. All right, so this is a big, lengthy thread. Basically, what happened over here was essentially some dude found a bone in their grandfather's bunker. And it looked like a pretty human bone. Like if you look over here, it's a fairly decent looking bone size. You know what I mean? Like at first glance, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and then I looked at it again, and I mean it's as real as a bone gets. I'm not a bone expert by any chance, but it's pretty much as real as it's going to get, at least to me. Now, what weirded me out more was some of these faces, but we'll get into it as time goes on. Now, the first thing is, hey B, I have some creepy OC for you to close out your summer. It's kinda too long, didn't read, but if you can get off your ADD high horse for the 10 minutes or so that it takes me to share this shit, then I think you'll be pleased. Then again, it's summer, so I'll probably just get lilliligid right the fuck out of here. However you pronounce that, dude, what was that? I took these pictures earlier today, so there isn't a timestamp. However, to prove that I'm not trolling, here's the exact location where these pictures were taken. Pick related. If you want to call me a liar, then that's fine. But at least have the balls to go here and prove it yourself. I will commence creepy dumping on the next post. In before OP camera sucks? Yeah, sorry I can't afford a paparazzi machine like you. Man, every time you gotta prove shit, everyone's just an asshole on 4chan. I gotta love that shit. But let's go into it real quick. So the first photo posted is of this weird bunker, and the first thing that immediately hits my head is it kind of gives me those weird World War II, you know what I mean? Like this, the machine gun nest vibes, if you know what I'm talking about. It kind of gives me those vibes to begin with. 3 days ago, my last living grandparent, my mother's father, passed away at the age of 89. He was a World War II vet, and my mom tells me that after returning home from the Navy, he was never quite the same. In fact, he was pretty paranoid about nearly everything. I was never really allowed to stay at his house. In 1965, his wife died suddenly, with no real explanation. My mother tells me that my grandfather became extremely fearful of a nuclear war with the communists, and that he started to dig a bomb shelter out of rock and limestone on his land. I never saw the bomb shelter until today, when the family was going through my grandfather's belongings, pick related. It's the entrance. Now, it's pretty common back in the day to build a lot of these things. Just truth be told, I mean, it was the Cold War, so, obviously people are scared of getting nuked on either side. So, yeah, it's no shock that people in the United States and Russia have bomb shelters like crazy. I mean, you got to remember, it was a time period where both nations had, enough nuclear arsenals to completely wipe the Earth over and over and over again if they chose to do so. So, yeah, it's kind of some freaky shit. Now, the next post that was made after this was going into that shelter. So you step in through the door and you walk in and look down, and there's just an even deeper door further into it. And of course, this is when things start getting truly darker. I mean, you look in that and it's almost like a stairway to hell almost. I just only asked my grandfather about his hand-dug cave one time in my life, which was when I was 16 or so and we got together for Christmas. He didn't really seem to want to talk about it. He just told me to never even go there. It's just a damned blank. What the word in that blank was, I've never been able to figure out. No amount of Googling helped me determine what he said. All I know was that it sounded like Asu Air. That way he said it was creepy enough that I never asked about it again. The picture is a view back towards the door after you go down some steps. So yeah, truly a stairway to hell, right? And then you go further down through that doorway, I believe, into an even elongated hallway. It just keeps going down and down and down. It's actually a really weird bomb shelter. Usually bomb shelters I've seen go straight into the ground, but those are more modern, design ones. This is kind of like a jerry-rigged bomb shelter. Still pretty decent, but it is definitely scuffed in a way. I hadn't even thought about the shelter since then until today, when my mother asked me to go and check it out and see if I could find anything worth putting into the estate sale. To be honest, I was pretty excited. I thought maybe I'd find old gas masks, non-perishable food items from the 60s, and maybe even some forms of entertainment that he planned to use to keep the family busy in the event of the attack. The picture in the first hallway, which curves off to the right at the end. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff you expect to find in a bomb shelter anyways. I mean, when the nukes hit, you expect to be down there for like, what, 40, 50 years? And then we go further and further and further, and I think what it is, it's like, I think it's kind of like, it almost looked like a paint bucket, but I mean, it is a toilet apparently to the poster, and it's kind of disgusting to look at because it looks like the shit has solidified from the 60s. It's kind of weird. The first thing I found was this rudimentary toilet. Of course, time wasn't so kind to it. There wasn't so much left. It obviously had been in disrepair for years. I just snapped a picture of it and kept going. Although I did have to admire the work that had gone into chipping away at the rock, one heave at a time. And then you've got people bumping it over and over and over again, like it starts to pick up some traction, right? The next photo is further going down this hallway, and here you see like a fire extinguisher that looks like the most intact thing down over here, but everything's just sort of fallen over. It's almost giving me Ted the Caver vibes, but I guess it's just because it's in a limestone cave of all things, right? But further down the hallway, I came to nothing more than a bunch of old rustle garbage on the floor. I instantly felt my heart sink, because I had such high hopes for what this exploration would yield. It was beginning to look like my grandfather had just given up at some point on his dream of crafting a shelter. Pick related, it's the garbage. So it's probably just really recent shit. And then the next photo is this really weird scratched up door. It almost looks like it has barbed wire, like a weird netting on it. And yeah, at first glance, looks like some weird trap almost, right? But you'll notice that in the previous picture, the hallway curves off to the left. I was expecting to hit a flat wall of rock, but instead I found a huge iron door that was padlocked shut. Fortunately for me, it had become rusted to all hell. So I was actually able to just pick up a decent sized rock off the floor and hit the padlock until it busted the entire loop that went through. Opening the door was another story though. It was extremely heavy and had become rusted over the years. I found a shovel back in the garage heap and used all my strength to force it open with a lever action. Pick related, it's the view after I got the damn thing open. So yeah, he pushed that door open, the iron door I guess, and found himself an even deeper cave network. Alright. And people are again obviously egging him to go on, right? Now the next thing you see is this like indentation of a cross. It almost looks like a grave or some kind of prayer altar. Like this is when shit really gets real. Like when you start putting religious paraphernalia into your underground dungeon in the dark, yeah, it starts to show up a little bit. The only thing back there in the hallway that did abruptly end where he had stopped digging, but there was a doorway off to the right. I went down the doorway and inside the room looked more like a cavern than a bomb shelter. As I looked around, I noticed this fucking carving in the stone. At first I thought, no big deal. Maybe he just came back here to pray or something. But then I started to notice that there were more carvings. And then this is where shit really gets real. Then you see this picture, this face, all right? And this is where it's not a joke anymore. Like if you see that carved into your underground bomb shelter, you nope and you get out of there. Like it's not gonna happen. Like you see that kind of stuff, I would just run. Like that is not happening. And that's truly when it gets really weirded out. And I don't think like, you know, at the end of the day, these photos are real. Like it doesn't seem like it's photoshopped or anything. Like this is a real location. So it's two things. Either grandpa was a weird sick fuck and he just did this for the sake of it, or this is what he uncovered when he was trying to build a bomb shelter. And when you come across faces like these, yeah, it's when you leave the estate. I'd probably leave the country at this point. Suddenly I see this face carved in rock. There were faces everywhere. Seriously, it was as though there was a bunch of ghostly faces staring you down in that room, pick related. And then you've got more pictures, more of them. You've got this weird picture, like this weird face, and it just looks completely angry in comparison to what happened before it. And finally, we get to the bone. And I guess it almost seems as though at this moment we're getting some weird type of human sacrifice ritual chamber, if I'm gonna just say it from first glance. I happened to look down at the ground below the skull carving, and there, sitting in the bunch of concrete rubble, was a mother fucking bone. And don't get me wrong, I'm not just a fucking Nancy. There was no deer bone. There was clearly a human bone. I can't confirm, I haven't really dealt with human bones. I'm an engineer, not a medic, let's be honest. My heart was pounding out of my chest. As I started to look more closely, I saw more bones coming out of the concrete, as though human remains had been dumped in the batch of quick, dry cement or something. Then I could have sworn I heard a quiet laugh from the corner of the room. Yeah, you run. You run. If you hear laughter like that, you nope the fuck out of wherever you're from. If you hear laughter, human bones, like piled up like it's the catacombs in Paris, you get the fuck out of there. It's not happening, dude. It's not. That ain't it, chief. Interestingly enough, as soon as that bone picture was posted, the thread was deleted. The thread was completely out of existence. Like it just started 404ing for everyone after it. And some posters found it up. It's like, what the fuck? Did the post with the bone just get deleted, or is B acting up? These pictures have no EXIF. EXIF is EXIF data, which basically details camera phone, like all the details that are embedded, metadata, like extended metadata, into a photograph. So it could be things like the camera serial address, maybe location data. If your device supports location data like geotagging, it could include, ISO, f-stops. It could include every technical detail for that specific photo, camera, or location. And it's often used to confirm if a photo is usually real. Sometimes you'll have EXIF stripping, which basically reduces that data, and that starts to look fishy at that moment. Like, you actually have to go through and do that on your own, because usually most cameras will give you EXIF data by default. In fact, it's a pretty common procedure if you have like an older device and you want to get the serial number out of it. So you just take a photo, look at the EXIF data, and you'll get a serial number for that device printed onto the EXIF data. Quick tips, really. I'm completely out of it. It's a little too late. And the stuff is kind of creeping me out, actually. I'm sorry, I can't look at faces and bones late at night when it happens. And then I saw this one. Unlike every single other carving in the room, there were faces. This one was clearly meant to be a skull. It seemed so out of place, since I felt that the rest of the room had religious connotations to it. Why was there a skull? Because there's some sacrifice going on, dude. Like, it just screams at you. And people are obviously asking for more. They're screen capping everything. And the words that we talked about earlier, ossuaire, which this person had given to us in almost a pronunciation, was an ossuary, is a chest-building well or site that may serve as the final resting place of human skeletal remains. I would pronounce it as ossuaire, but it would be plausibly pronounced something like that in some accents and dialects in English. So it turns out it could just be a mass grave for human remains, but that doesn't really explain the fucking faces that you saw carved into the walls. I mean, here's the thing. I don't like to just jump to creepy conclusions, but to me it just looks like some weird human sacrifice stuff. You have a cross, you have faces in the walls, you have bones, and this isn't, none of it's really proven, but then you have weird demonic laughter that you can hear at the edge of the room. Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster. I look at these things and it's kind of like, burial grounds or something like that. There are just some places that you shouldn't live at, shouldn't be near, because good chances are that you'll probably experience some pretty nasty events if you stick around there for an extended period of time. But you know what? That was the 4chan tale of the weird bone room. And I think this is one of the more infamous posts out there that you can definitely dig up. And it really does strike to me, because I do like reading it. To me, to be honest with you, this is literally the best creepypastas you can find ever. Creepypastas are just internet campfire tales. These are anonymous postings on a free website that you can find. And honestly, these have more facts, more evidence than most other creepypastas out there. Like, there's actual pictures here, for God's sake. So I think to end it off, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think actually happened in this place? Like, I don't believe there was a proper follow-up to this, but I'll look at it. And maybe next time when we do a 4chan history, I can do a little follow-up segment covering this. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with that Satanist theory, dude. That seems a little more plausible. But I kept this video running longer than I really should have, ladies and gentlemen. So if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. Let me know if you were a little creeped out by the following content, because we'll keep bringing it. But that being said, this is me, Mutahar, and I am out.